Hello and hi, it is your favorite substitute teacher. So, I got a spunky little video for you. I owe it to you, I really do. I got some book recommendations, baby, so sit down and buckle up. Little did I know this month was National Reading Month, so hopefully you're doing your homework. I'm just kidding. Light your incense. Take off your shoes and kick back to relax. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books I would like to recommend you guys this month for you to get your little paws on and try reading. You can try to find these books. I doubt you will. I'm just joking. One of them was a beautiful gift from you guys. Sarah is her name. She sent me the most beautiful care package, dude. Blew my hair back. And it was an amazing book. So I'm going to start with that one first. I'm going to go with the... I still get confused between what nonfiction and fiction means. I just have my memory picks and chooses what it holds on to. So I'm going to start with the books that are based off of true stories and or just a story within itself. I know I usually am not really into those types of books. I really like information books that'll just sit down and I'm like, I gotta highlight, I gotta read, I gotta study. But it's interesting because I kind of took like a break from that to let my mind rest. And I ended up finding a couple books that really actually made me not stop reading. I finished one of them and I finished one in one day. Anyway, okay, this doesn't matter, sorry. I'm supposed to be a substitute teacher. We are not just blogging today. So the first book was a gift from Sarah. It's The Copper Penny. I will say it was a really, really quick read. And you know what's even more funny is after you sip or snack, please put your mask back. I don't think she meant to leave that in here, but it's a great souvenir. It makes it even more special. Isn't that funny though, that back in the day you would never find a napkin that's talking about putting a mask back on? Anyway, this is Copper Penny by Bernard Albertson. Bernard Albertson. And I was like, ooh, this is even better luck because you know me and my pennies. If you don't know, now you know. So this was a very, very quick read and it's a very interesting read. I'm not usually into action too much, but this is a very action-packed book about a man who is trying to get back his kidnapped mom. And so it's about all of these trials that he goes through. They want what mama has and they can't get it. So it's basically an amazing journey between him and a whole bunch of other people too. They are based on an Indian reservation. I'm gonna laugh if it's like, Sarah, that's not what happened. It's all about cowboys and Indians, so it's really action-packed. There's a lot of talk about guns and stuff, so I think that's why it was a little bit more of a quicker read for me. And the chapters are decently short too, which really helps. I like when chapters are short. It makes me feel like I'm going through a book quicker. It's all about him traveling through the Midwest and... Thanks, Sarah. But I don't want to give away the end, obviously. I don't want to give the end away to most of these books, but I would really highly recommend you guys read this. I really liked it. If I were to rate it, I would honestly probably give it a 6 out of 10, but I still read it this month, so I wanted to recommend it because, you know, what might not be my perfect taste, you might really like. You might be into like action-packed and stuff like this. So I would recommend this if you like action and if you like stories about hardships. Which leads me into my next book that I want to talk about, which the cute story behind this book is I was on a walk and I went by a free library and I walked past and was kind of stopped in my tracks because usually I don't see anybody spell their name the way my mom spelled her name. They always are either missing an N, missing an E, missing a T, putting too many E's, anything like that. So when I saw this, I only saw it from this way. And it's The Glass Castle by Jeannette. So I was like, get it. So I grabbed it and I didn't even read the back of it. You know, where it gives you like a little summary. I don't really like doing that. I like kind of being intrigued and not knowing what the hell's going to happen next. As opposed to having like an overall idea of what I'm reading. So this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. I had asked you guys when I was being active on Instagram who had read this, and so many of you guys. I mean, it was the most people I've ever had come back and say, dude, I've read that, I read that, I read that, read that, read that, read that. So I was like, okay. I read this, and the way this woman writes is so beautiful. She is amazing at telling stories. The stories she has to tell are just, they're awesome. They reminded me a lot of myself. They reminded me of my mom. It reminded me of my dad. It's a very emotional book, but it's basically about this young girl, and her name is Jeannette, and it's a memoir. So this is a true story, and but it's along the lines of like storytelling. So it's not really like an information book, but it is a memoir, and it's beautiful. They go through so many interesting things. They're basically always on the run. Sometimes they're homeless, sometimes they're living out of a car. So their car's always breaking, but it's literally this little family. There's I think there's like 5 kids or so. Dad has a problem with drinking. Mom is just like a goofball. She's so funny. She doesn't believe in glasses because she thinks that it's gonna like train your brain to not work the way it should, that your eyes can become stronger. But then one of her little girls ends up getting her eyes tested when she finally is able to go to school. She's like, I need glasses. Then when she gets glasses, it's like she sees the world in such a new thing. Like she literally is like, oh my God, you see the grass? Like I didn't know you could see the leaves on the trees. Like I could see branches and bunches, but I didn't know the human eye could see that. It's an amazing book. I couldn't put it down. I really couldn't. So my next book, it may come to no surprise. And it was funny because as I was finishing reading this, a lot of you guys wanted to know my thoughts on this because some of you guys did finish this, and I didn't finish this when I first made the video about this, and I hadn't finished it since. So I picked it up just like within these last 2 weeks, and I just read the hell out of it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is why I was reading it so hard the first time. So this is the Fear Index. I just don't have the cover on it, and I told you guys the story behind this book too. This book I found just laying on the ground, and it was a rainy, wet day, and I showed you guys in my other video. There's like a grocery store sticker from like a bread loaf stuck to the back of it, and it's just really interesting. It's cool, but it had never been read. I could tell when I picked it up, and I put little flowers in it, drying flowers. Don't worry about my other hobbies. But this is an amazing book. It messes with you, and the ending, it's a great book, but the ending, I was like, dude, really? You could have gone on like 150 or 200 more pages, and this already is a pretty deep, like, dense book. But the Fear Index, this is, I don't even know where to begin, but it's basically about a man who mysteriously gets sent a book in the mail. It's a book about fear by Charles Darwin, and he has no idea where it came from. He has no idea how it got there, but he literally is like, there's somebody out trying to ruin my life. So for example, his wife is an artist, and she has this huge exhibit one day, and her exhibit goes for a lot of money, each one. So all of a sudden she comes up, and the head of the art museum or whatever, the studio, was like, hey, I need to talk to you, something crazy just happened. And she's like, what? And he goes, somebody just bought out this whole place, like somebody bought it out entirely. And she's like, what the hell do you mean? And he goes, somebody bought out your entire art exhibit. And she looks at her husband, and she's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you do that? I get you're trying to like support me and help me, but like now nobody can, or like what are you doing? You make me look crazy. And he's like, dude, I didn't freaking do it. And it's from like, it would be like, for example, it comes from his bank account though, but he didn't do it. So it's very suspenseful. It goes into a lot of talk about computers, and more so artificial intelligence when it comes to computers, and basically the notion that if you create something that can basically, I forget how he puts it, but it's basically, they even compared it to a virus, how this guy basically came up with this invention. He worked for CERN, and he invented a computer program that was able to gather data at the craziest rate that a human would never be able to do it. They were able to dictate negative things, positive things. They were able to track sales, stop sales, do trades. It's literally like the AI of stocks and trading and making money, and they're in a huge multi-billion-dollar business. So he creates this thing, and he's like, he shows it to all the rest of his colleagues, and his colleagues are like, dude, this is a bad idea. We can't put this out there. And he's like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you basically created a virus in itself, and if we put it out there, it's going to like take over and basically start running itself. So in the middle of this man going through all of these crazy life events, he ends up starting, like, I don't want to give the whole book away, but he now runs his own business where he took the invention that CERN told him not to use. He started using it. So he has this huge, like, computer freaking, the stuff you see online. If you don't, just look at, like, big AI computer freaking things in CERN. They're just these huge computers that don't need humans. Like, they really don't need humans. So it's a whole crazy story about this guy just literally trying to figure out how to stop what he basically created, because all hell just starts breaking loose. And he ends up getting into, like, I'm not going to tell you who gets hurt, but he ends up getting into some serious scuffles, and it turns out that he was the one who contacted and hired this man to come and ruin his life, but it was because he had an alter ego, basically, of himself that would do things that he didn't remember. And basically why that came to be was because of the research he conducted in finding basically that a computer, an artificial intelligence, can become intelligent enough in itself that it doesn't need a human anymore, and it can go out and do its own thing. Him discovering that key drove him to insanity. So his brain was slowly like just going crazy because of the information he knew, and that's what he did for his job. So even when his wife knew nothing about him, like literally knew nothing about him. So when she didn't know he worked at CERN, she didn't know anything about, unless it was within like the 3 years they'd been together. So she goes to his old job trying to figure out why her husbands are going crazy, and they tell him, yeah, like he had a breakdown here. We let him go. He went off, and now he runs his own business. We didn't know he started this business. And he goes, he used to live here. He had a mattress he would pull out, and for 20 hours of the day he would just read and research. And I was like, as I was reading this book, I was like, good God, sir, you're probably reading about yourself in the future. Like, this is something you would do. So that's also why this book was so interesting, because I was like, you guys, if you want to get in the mind of me, just read this book. You can, yeah. So after reading this, though, too, I happened to run into this really good YouTube video that was talking about one of the 7 deadly sins of gluten, be addicted to gluten. No, but gluttony. And she was explaining it in the form of how our minds can become addicted to consuming so much knowledge that we basically never give our brains the chance to sit down, settle, and understand what we've learned. And it can lead to us kind of either becoming more addicted to more knowledge, to where the more we gain, the more we feel like we need more, because we're not remembering what we are reading, because we're just processing so much knowledge. And I was like, okay, this also makes me think back to in high school when we were only assigned to read like a chapter a night of one book, like just a chapter. And I'm like, oh, even if it's only 10 pages, and it's because we had to let that sink in so we could remember. So I finished this book. I'm listening to this woman speak about, calm down with the knowledge, because she was like, what ends up happening? And she goes, what I see a lot of people on YouTube doing is just regurgitating knowledge, but they probably forget about it the next day. They haven't sat down and studied about it. And I'm like, oh my God, everything is speaking to me. It's like, there's a reason my phone broke and technology is gone. There's a reason I finished all these books. There's a reason, I saw that video. The one time I did go watch a YouTube video, she pops up and is like, hey honey, slow down. It's like, she's like, I know you're reading a lot. I'm like, you're speaking to me. So maybe I can like speak to you. If you are somebody who is obsessed about like literally knowledge, which I am, and it's kind of like I don't like it because I can't stop, we have to take it down and slow it down. And I think that is why that's one of the 7 deadly sins, is because damn dude, sometimes you just want to suck in knowledge, but our brains are one way. And like, I have a brain injury, so if you also may have a brain injury, you already have problems with memory. So just slow down a little bit, And I used to like literally read and then go watch all these YouTube videos, take notes on this, and then go to sleep, wake up, read. Like she said in the video, if you become incubated in that mindset of, I need knowledge, come and help me, you're gonna have to take a break. But yeah, I took a break, and like I said, I've been like, whoa, Sarah, you have so many books that you have read, but you don't remember every bit of it because you just wanted to read it. You're addicted to reading, and it's like, slow down, enjoy the breeze. So this book is another book I found for free. You guys don't have to pay money. Just go out there and look. They want us to stay stuck inside, but I promise you it's still safe out there. Go out there and go to a library. Go out there and go to a free library. They have them. And now because some bookstores just have so many damn books, they just have a free bin outside. And I'm like, how do you trust people? I would take this whole thing if I had a truck. So this book I found in a free book bin. I skimmed past it and I wasn't going to get it because I told you I don't like to read the back of it. But the front caught my attention. It says news from nowhere with a TV and the sky in the middle of the TV. Take a gander. And it's like nobody's read it, so the pages are literally falling out because this was written in, I want to say, the 60s or the 50s. 1935. So let's kick it back a little bit further, baby. So 1935 was this book, and this was the book that I talked about in my other video, Expect the Unexpected. Here she is. Promised I'd tell you about her. This book is mind-blowing. Everybody needs to get their hands on it, especially with what's happening with this whole pandemic and this whole world and this whole presidency and this whole damn simulation we're in. So get this book, okay? If you can't find it in person, I swear that the copy has to be digitally online. It's 2021. This man goes on a 5-year mission to figure out where the hell news is coming from because it doesn't make sense to him. So 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Remember how I said take time? We can't just learn everything in one day. So this dude took 5 years, and I bet you that wasn't even long enough. I hope he's still alive. I don't think he is, bless him. And we're to see like how the news is happening right now. Holy moly! I just feel like there's stuff on my lips. I'm like talking so fast. It's like I have like ADHD and anxiety. It's like, ugh. He goes on a whole mission. He literally, he gets access to everything sometimes. He goes to ABC, NBC, and like CBS. Still, isn't that crazy that in the 1930s, those were the main news sources, the only news sources, and that's still what's happening today. Where is our news coming from? Nowhere, people. Stop relying on it. He literally, and this isn't even an opinionated book. He's only speaking facts. That's all he does, I promise you. He spits out the numbers, he spits out exactly what he sees, he tells you exactly, he quotes people. It's the whole 9 yards, dude. He's allowed to sit in on discussions, but it's basically, since forever, it's all been about money. And the thing that the news relies on is its endorsers and its affiliates. So for example, you know how like James Charles has all these affiliate links, and same with like Jeffree Star, they have all these affiliate links. So those affiliates are what gives them money, because when you use those links, you get money, right? It's like it's just a little process. So that's what the news does. The news relies on affiliates. Who are affiliates for the news? Well, Coca-Cola, Jeep, Pepsi, Victoria's Secret. You catch what I'm spitting. Antidepressant drugs. They rely on those affiliates. This is why she says, take a second and suck in the knowledge. Basically, if Coca-Cola doesn't like what the news is showing, they're going to pull themselves. And that means that the news is going to lose money. The news has to be very, very careful with what they say. He also goes in to say that there is little to no news stories that are live. This is what's even more trippy. Everything has to be basically overlooked and seen. So it's kind of like, say I have a brand deal with somebody. I have to please them. I will have to redo my video, chop it up, screw it up, do whatever I need to do until it pleases them, or I won't get paid. That's what happens with news stories. News stories has an even higher up team that literally is like the eagle eye of the news, and they're like, hey, we have all of these policies, all of these regulations, you can't talk about this, you can't show this. If you want to talk about this, you have to mix it up and make it sound more of a story, because basically the point of the news is to never tell you if it's real or if it's false. It has to stay right in the middle of, I don't know what the hell it is, here's a story, take what you want from it. So just reading this book, it's a huge, huge eye-opener. So please, please, I don't care if you don't like reading, get this book and listen to it on audio. Maybe they have that out there. I don't know. This is so interesting and so important. It's very eye-opening. I already didn't watch the news, but then another thing that somebody quoted, he quoted from somebody else, is it's ignorant enough for you to believe the news, but don't be ignorant enough to never watch the news and not listen to it, because then you're going to be even more lost. You're going to be more lost. You really won't know fact from what the nation thinks is reality or fact. You won't know what their narrative or what they want to push is from. Like, you won't know if you don't watch the news. So if you just say, ignore it, forget it, I'm not going to listen to it, then you won't know. But if you don't watch it, then you won't know what the mass is being hypnotized with. Like, the millions and millions and millions and millions of people rely on the news. They do. That's just how it is. And so with all of these millions of people relying on something, and if they're told that and everybody's tuned in, like, that is literally the news's goal. Some people only have certain segments. Like, news used to only be like 25 minutes long. Now, or 30 minutes long. Now sometimes the news is like an hour long. It didn't used to be like that, but they see that the news is what makes the most money. So they have to do as much as they can in it to get the most views at most. And they're competing against other channels. So they don't always want to share the same exact stories. Sometimes that's what happens though. Where do we get our news? From nowhere. So really, whoever comes with the news story first, who's ever wanting to pay the least, because the news has to buy stories from people. Like, they have to pay journalists for it. This reminds me of what's that movie? Where the Nightcrawler. If you guys have not seen Nightcrawler, go watch Nightcrawler. This book is just like what Nightcrawler is. And that's what's even more creepy. Watch movies too. I used to be the type that was like, oh my god, I don't watch movies. I stopped watching TV. Like, I literally went through that phase. Ignorance is bliss. So going through that phase though helped me learn though, oh, I do need to stay in the loop. Like, I do. I really have to stay in the loop. Which is just supposed to be a fake movie or whatnot. It literally is about this man who sees this other guy running around catching news stories. Like, he's at the scene of deaths. He's at the scene of arrests. He's at the scene of car crashes. And he runs and he records it. And then he goes and he runs and he has his team. And this guy's just like, damn, that looks like it'd be fun. Like, just an adrenaline rush. So this guy with he's a little weird up top. He goes and it's basically all about him. But he learns that if he goes and he literally walks, he pretends he's a freaking journalist, and he walks into like NBC, he walks up and he goes, I have film, and they're like, okay, go to floor 4, and then goes up to floor 4, and he goes, hey, I got film, and the lady's like, okay, what? And she's in front of all of this, like these stories that she is needing to look at and buy or not buy. So he's like, she goes, well, what do you have? And he goes, oh, I have the shooting on, 54th and 7th. And she goes, oh, let me see. She goes, oh, this will make this is good, this is good. So and then she goes, put in the dogs barking. Let's make it sound like there's dogs barking. Put in a kid crying. So this is what they talk about too. They have a whole like recording system, and this is real. This is like literally he did this. He went out and studied this stuff. This isn't a fake book at all. just want to put that out there. But he goes out there and he realizes that they just have this whole like record of the most random noises you could think about. They have clips that they don't want to use yet or just wouldn't work yet. So say a story happened 3 weeks ago and is kind of irrelevant to the narrative that's happening right now, like they just don't want to talk about it. They will wait and save it for a new time, like a better time. But then when we watch it, we think that shit happened today, or they literally say just the other night. Just the other night. It was, 5 weeks ago. So it really just goes to show that we live in a really messed up place, and that leads me into my last book that I originally, like, like when you find a favorite YouTuber and you're like, oh, I hope you don't blow up and then change. Like that. You just want to keep it a secret. That's how this book was originally for me because, for one, I don't like talking about stuff if I don't know what I'm talking about. So even though it may sound like I'm confused sometimes, I swear to God I know what I'm talking about. My brain just can't spit it out. So I have been studying for so freaking long, trying to learn, they say it in different ways. They say gematria, gematria, but basically the formation of numbers and letters and how they correspond and how they basically rule the world, supposedly. So when I hear this and I start finding channels that are like really hook me in, I'm like, damn, yeah, we're living in a weird world. So as I'm trying to learn this, it's one of those things, like I promise you, the person, like, because I started watching this YouTuber, and I also, here's my thing, I sometimes don't like recommending YouTubers to people because now that I have a bunch of subscribers, it's not that I don't love having a lot of subscribers, it just comes with a different energy and a different pressure. I never want to just give that pressure to somebody else. So if I, with 1 million subscribers, am also like, oh, go watch James Charles, 1 million people could potentially just go swarm them, and somebody might not be ready for that, So I just, and I could like say, hey, can I talk about you on my channel? But just let the world give you your teachers. I don't want to just be like, hey, this is who I listen to. You need to go listen to them. Like, listen to other people, and don't just listen to me either. Listen to other people, because the more you listen to, 2 heads are better than 1. So just keep that in mind. So the YouTuber that I had been watching over and over again, and I'm like, dude, how do you know all this freaking information? And how do you hook onto it? How do you learn it? He goes, you need to go get this book. Read this book. So I went and got this book. I didn't go get it because I could not find it in any bookstore, and every time I went and asked, the people look at me like I was goddamn crazy. They're like, no, we don't have that. So it is this book. It is a big boy. Big boy. It's pretty cool. So I would compare this to The House of Leaves in retrospect of it's a lot for your brain, but more so if you already are used to understanding like a certain religion, and you only believe those certain religious beliefs, or you only believe this book is to be the truth, or that this came before this, or that and that, like this, that, and the other. If you already have a set of beliefs, this book is going to be a mind bender, or you're going to look at it and read it and be like, this is bullshit, I'm not going to read it. You need to. this book is very, very information packed, and what's even more interesting is every single time I do have to keep at least somebody's phone next to me when I'm reading this, because I have to Google words and I have to Google people, and I want to Google like keywords that they use in explaining something so I can get a visualization of it. So for example, I had no idea what the Kabbalistic Sephorath was. I had no idea what that was. So it's like something like that, but it basically represents the tree of life. And it's really interesting because it goes into how, like, according to the secret doctrine of the Chaldeans, I don't even know if I'm saying that word right, but it says, like, the universe is divided into 4 states of beings, planes or spheres. There's the archetypal, sidereal, and the sidereal, I didn't know, but that means constellations. Elemental, and then there's the intellectual. Each of these reveals the others, the superior controlling the inferior receiving influence from the superior. The archetypal plane was considered synonymous with the intellect of the true divinity. Within this divinity, incorporeal and eternal sphere are included with all of the lower manifestations of all life that is, has been, or ever shall be. With that cosmic intellect, all things spiritual or material exist as archetypes or divine thought forms, which is shown in the table by a chain of secret smiles. They are referring to this old Egyptian, this book's so cool, you guys, so good. The Bembine Table of Isis is the old Egyptian tablet. But it goes into like just a whole bunch of weird things. All I have to say is read this book. I can't even tell you what it's about because it's about the world, okay? What's even more interesting is it goes into talking about a little bit of the zodiac signs, but how like this goes back, and to the occultists, like the people that are literally supposed to rule the Illuminati and stuff like that, like the Freemasons. This is the information that they study. So take that into consideration. They don't study what the little people study. They also say that they talk about the sun and the moon. Like, this is so interesting, and I have never really been into zodiacs or horoscopes, mostly because being a part of this universe, I don't think being able to predict the future or wanting to be able to predict the future is appropriate. I think that we shouldn't have control over that or access to that, being the multidimensional beings we are. That's for something else. You know, there's information for us to know, and then there's information for them to know. And that's kind of what this stuff is all about too, is that a lot of people are trying to gather information and knowledge from a dimension that isn't from us, and that information isn't for us. So then when we gather, that's when weird stuff starts happening, blah, 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 blah. So it talks about how in order for the earth and the sun and the moon for us to pass through each zodiac sign, it takes over 2,000 years. Things have changed for so long that we're basically practicing the practices that aren't even original. They're not the innate practices. Because it's like the news. It's like, where are you guys getting this knowledge from? That's where I want to know. That's where my questions come from. Where did you guys get that from? So that's what this is about. This goes about to even Egyptian beliefs. It talks about the old gods that used to be worshipped. Like I said, take everything with a grain of salt too. Information is information, knowledge is knowledge. That's also something that's important, is the knowledge that we gather needs to make us wise. We can't just be filled with dumb knowledge, useless knowledge, right? Or knowledge that repeats itself and doesn't help us evolve. This is mind evolving, this book. And it also talks about, it has a whole chapter and reference and story, not really story, but just like how it came to be and what some people believed. They never worshipped Jesus as a person. If that energy itself isn't supposed to be personified, and I know some people will be like, no sir, it's not, that's just a symbol of who his energy is. Well, in this book it talks about how Jesus is the sun. That's who they really worship, is the sun. And it talks about why. And I don't want to like just regurgitate information like that woman said and me not know exactly what I'm talking about, because this is obviously a book to be studied, and I'm not finished with it, but that's why I wanted to recommend this to you guys. And I took philosophy in college, so the first few parts go even deeper into philosophy than I had even heard of or thought of. Like, I'm like, oh, I knew this name and that name, but then I didn't know that like Pluto was initiated by, like, he went through an initiation similar to what the Freemasons do. I want to recommend it. It is The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. And I want to just give you an example of some of the chapter names. So it talks about ancient mysteries of secret societies which have been influenced by modern Masonic symbolism. everything that's being practiced today is old pagan worship, and it's weird to look at it that way. And I know somebody's listening to me and is like, Sarah, what are you talking about? Read this book. I'm not saying that's what's true, but anyway, it talks about the Book of Thoth. The Hermetic fragments are also very interesting. It talks about the solar trinity, the Christianity and the sun, the birthday of the sun, the three suns, the celestial inhabitants of the sun in alchemical symbology. And then it talks about the zodiac and its signs. It gets into the philosophy of music, the music of the spheres, the philosophy of colors. It talks about fishes, insects, animals, reptiles, and birds. The Kabbalistic keys to the creation of man, but it's just, this is what other people worship and study and believe, and the gods they pray to. So, like, I just have this theory that the God we are praying to isn't the right, it's not like it's not the right one. These are like my old Sarah conspiracy videos, not really conspiracy, but just where I would let my mind wander. But I just have a feeling that the people who control us, and like this world is run by money, and this world is ran by some weird people, and they make sure weird people get into place, and it's like, it's weird knowing that like Trump and those people went to the same Masonic school and were taught like things like this. That's what's even more interesting, and that's why the guy that I still watch him, but they really go into the study of just numbers and letters. They would always hold this book up and be like, you guys have to read this. You will understand everything I'm talking about more. And now that I'm reading it, I'm starting to understand it. Like, I'm like, oh, now I get what he's talking about. But you can't just, like, you know, it's like getting into a bus full of strangers, but they're all, like, professional ninja people. You get in there and you sit down. Even if they teach you one or two things, you still have so much information and knowledge you need to gain that they have that you don't, that you're going to feel lost. And you're going to be like, damn, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it takes time, and it takes being patient, it takes studying. And so I'm like, I haven't been being patient with myself, and I'm literally trying to learn things. I want to learn stuff, like I told you, I can't stop. But I literally wrote this down, not thinking anything of it, because that one lady who told me to slow the hell down also explains numbers and letters. So and she helped me gather things that I just wasn't gathering from any other buddy. So that's why I said, don't just have one teacher. Do not just have one teacher ever in your life. They talk about just like how certain words, like A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, la da da. So if you put a word together like earth or peace or love, it equals something. You add up all of the numbers and what they equal, and it comes to a sum of something. And modern people have been starting to realize and see that there's a study of how this came to be, and that the English language was basically created off of numbers, and the question is why. And so that's why I wanted to learn about gematria, because I was like, I'm over here hearing that the world is ran by numbers and everything is in codes, and if you learn the code, you can see where the system runs. And I want to crack the code. I've always thought, you know, we've lived in a simulation, or it's just something weird. So I've always been hungry to crack that code. So when I heard if you learn the study of numbers and ancient teachings, you will crack the code of what they're doing today. Like how the world is being ran, how and why it isn't peaceful, why we still don't have like just bunnies and ducks everywhere. Not saying that ever was that way, but it also like just, I don't know, we're on the third dimension. Whatever happens here stays here. I'm just joking. That's so not true. But I just heard that if you start studying this stuff, the world starts making sense in a different aspect. So when I recommended the fear index, one of you guys messaged me and was like, I am obsessed with learning about AI now. And I was like, that's crazy, you know. Now this person has so much knowledge within them, but it was all because I just talked about a funny little book. That's how I want this to be. I want one of these books to maybe be an introduction for you to learn more information that you had never thought of, you'd never heard of, maybe you had an idea of. Like I had an idea and I kind of got it, and when I would hear people talk about it in depth, it made sense. Like I got it. I was like, whatever you're saying is right, even though I don't understand it, because the numbers are adding up. So I'm like, it's like being in math class. If you don't understand it, you have to take the time to learn it. So I'm trying to take the time to learn it. So if anybody wants to hop on the journey, you can. I remember there's been times where I will comment on videos about this stuff, and people will comment back and be like, dude, you have 1 million subscribers. Why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you using your platform to help benefit the people? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just started learning about this subject, and to see how much of an impact this study of gematria and ancient numbers and texts and is supposedly, like I said, cracking the code. Maybe you sitting there are like me and you're really into weird stuff or really into digging around for information, and maybe you have the ability and capability to. I'm sitting and I'm studying and I'm working on it, so I know one day I can come and be like, all right guys, this is what's going on. But yeah, I want to just be the one to nudge you on the back and look into it. Look into how everything is connected. And it's weird because when I started learning about this, now when I see news stories and there's a certain number of people, or there's a certain time it was posted, or the video is a certain length, it just is like, it makes me think. And whenever I always listen to my intuition. That's one of the things I feel like I'm so freaking blessed with, and I work so hard at it, though that's why I think it's good. Like I said, you have to practice. If you don't practice something, it's going to atrophy. That's what can happen to our intuition. So if you're kind of like, damn, I don't really have an intuition, or I don't have this or that, just practice. If you don't get something, yeah, just practice. Reading this and then just still watching the news, it's making me feel weird. Sometimes information is too much. Women who run with the wolves. I guess that's because I have a video planned all by itself. But one of the main things that one of those stories talks about is that too much information can make you old too quick. And when I read that, I was like, that's right. Like, that's why it's like ignorance is bliss. And I understood that like way back in the day. Now that I've been like trying to swim through a muck, what's going on, why we're really here. Like, I don't think I'll ever be set with an answer. I'm like, I need to know more. But this is weird. So this is almost leading us, like trying to lead people to as close to it is. And it goes even into deeper context of all of the old religions and textbooks that people came in, and the people who were basically following Christianity came in and said, if this is pagan or whatever, they came in and burnt everything. So even though it was seen as evil, it's still information. You still need to like at least know about it. You need to know what's going on. Like, ignorance is bliss, but you need to know. Knowledge is important. It'll make us wise. I don't even know what I was saying. I guess that means my brain is shutting off. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was talking about. Sheesh, that hasn't happened in a while. Yeah, oh yeah, it talked about all of the stuff that was burned. So there's stuff that was out there that was worshipped and taught and dug into people's heads that we have no ability to get to because people just like to burn stuff that doesn't fall into their belief system. Don't be like that. Don't be judgy because it doesn't fit your current belief system. That sometimes I think it's important to almost not have a belief system and not know what's going on, than to be like, oh no, this is what's going on and I know the truth. Because I think once you hit that point, you just like, it's like dink, your head wants to keep going, but it's like a glass wall. Yeah, that's what I got for you today. I apologize, I haven't given a book recommendation recently. To be honest, I hadn't been reading as much as I had been in the past. But I'm back and I'm better. These are the books that I've been reading. Also, I haven't found a book that latched me and made me want to finish it until this month. So I literally finished all these guys, except these two. But I'm almost done. These are just, like I said, these are a little bit too much knowledge base that my brain hurts. So yeah, here's a cute little stack of books, 3 books, Copper Penny, The Glass Castle, Fear Index, and then you've got yourself The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Yeah, so I had to order that online. Shits and giggles. I will see you guys another day. Bye.